she's so good at her job. We shot the first scene of her walking, and I'm like watching the monitor going, God, Sophie's weird at walking. Like, this is what's happening here? And then I'm embarrassed that it took like a stutter step to be like, oh wait, that's intentional. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a weekend vacation turns violent in director Drew Hancock's dark comedy thriller, Companion. The film follows Iris and her boyfriend Josh as they go on a weekend getaway to a remote cabin with a group of friends. When it comes to light that Iris is a companion robot, the vacation unravels into chaos as she goes haywire and exacts revenge. Companion is Hancock's feature directorial debut. His other credits include segments for Jimmy Kimmel Live and videos for the band Tenacious D. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles, Hancock spoke with director Rob Savage about filming Companion. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Well, first of all, congratulations. What a great movie.
Thank you very much.
Am I right?
Thank you.
So you're in this very unique club of like people who know what it feels like to have a movie on wide release. This is your opening weekend. It's a very specific kind of like exposing, nerve-wracking feeling. How are you taking it? How are you?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's something that's really hard to process because everyone's sending you texts and being like, "Oh, you must be so excited! You must be so excited!" And then one director friend reached out to me and said, "How you doing, man? Do you need to talk to anyone? Because it's an absurd situation to be in where." You tell yourself you don't care about reviews, you don't care about the box office number, but that's a lie. You care about it all. Like it is a mind f***. And so, yeah.
This has been how many years for you? How many years since the inception of this?
Almost exactly 4 years and when I came up with the idea. So January of 2021 is when I came up with the idea. And then I finished the script in 2022. And then we shot in 2023, edited in 2024. And then we had to kind of sit on it until now. So it's been exactly 4 years.
Wow, that's a lot. Have you been going and sitting, like lurking in the back of theaters?
No, I can't. I'm too fragile.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, way too fragile.
Oh, this must be a fun one to do that in, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had two experiences that like I need to bottle up. Like Beyond Fest, seeing it with a group of people that didn't know anything about it. So like all the reveals are just completely fresh. So I have that. And then the premiere is just great. So I have those two moments, but I've seen this movie like 60, 70 times.
Dude, when Boogeyman came out, I watched it like 20 times in the cinema.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that. It's just wallpaper to me right now. It's like white noise. Like I don't recognize what, like I can feed off the audience response to it, but to me it's just, yeah, it's nothing.
Okay, good. Well, okay, so going back 4 years, can you pinpoint that first moment, middle of the night, writing the idea on a Post-it note, however this came to you? What was the first spark of this idea?
Yeah, like every project is different. It could be a scene, it could be an image, it can be a character. This one, the story gods were just like, here's something. It's never happened to me before where an idea popped into my head, like fully baked. Yeah. Like I have the journal entry. It's January 1st, 2021. The day I was like, let's start generating ideas. And on that entry, it says, 3 couples go to a cabin in the middle of the woods. One of them discovers they're a robot about to be shut down, and then everything kind of goes haywire. And yeah. And because it was so fully baked that, and my writer brain is like, well, it's the first idea. You can't go with that. Like I denied it. It just went in a drawer and I was just generating ideas. And then 6 months later, I went back to it. Like, oh wait, that's actually pretty interesting. Yeah. And that's when I started fleshing it out and really committing to it.
Was it the twist first? Did you build out from that moment? Because that's such a kind of pivotal moment in the movie.
Yeah, I've been a writer for so long. Like, this is my first thing I've directed, but I wrote in television for like 10, 15 years. And so, when I knew I had the twist, I knew it was going to be a movie hinging on a twist, but I didn't know where the twist was going to come. Cause you have this idea that it's going to be a discovery that this thing, I've called her a thing, but she's a person. Sorry. This robot discovers she's a robot. It'll happen when the audience finds out. I knew that was going to be the case. And then before you start writing it, you have to ask yourself, like, well, okay, like, when does this happen? Is this a third act twist? Is this a midpoint twist? Is this a first act, end of the first act twist? Is this in the first 5 pages? And I just was thinking about the kinds of movies I was trying to emulate and the ones that I wanted to stay away from. And I think about like twist movies, specifically the third act twist movies, and how they kind of hinge on this like idea that like go in not knowing anything about it, and like you won't believe like how it fucking like, so you're watching it differently than you'd watch a different movie. It's a puzzle box movie. And so when you're watching a movie that's the trailer's telling you that like something's off, you won't believe what the thing that's off is. You don't let yourself be immersed in the story. You're just everyone's behavior is like under harsh scrutiny. So I didn't want to have that experience. So my rationale is I wanted to have my cake and eat it too, and just have a little bit of that, like 20 pages of that, 20 minutes of that, whatever it needed to be, where you're living in this world where something is off, you don't know, and people are like, the trailer reveals what it is, but there are also, I don't know how many people actually knew the twist here. Did anyone come in not knowing the twist?
Oh, you lucky people.
Oh, wow. It's surprisingly a lot. God bless you. But I just, you never know what you can control. Like when you're writing it, you're like, marketing could ruin this. But, the beauty of having a twist that happens in 20 pages is like after that, everyone is on the same page. Like everyone that knows it, everyone that doesn't know it, suddenly they're like, okay, well, I don't know what this movie is. I feel like if you do that, and people will kind of just sit back and just let the story unfold. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. So I'm interested. You said you had some reference movies, because I've seen this movie described as a horror movie and a sci-fi movie and a comedy, and it was. I'm interested in kind of what you were when you first conceived of this idea, what you wanted it to be, and how that evolved, and the movies, or not movies, anything you were referencing for how this movie should feel.
Yeah. So I should back up and say, when I came up with the idea that there was going to be this robot that would discover that they're a robot and things would go south, my first instinct was to make her the antagonist. It just seemed obvious. Like, of course, the point of view would be from the human characters, and then you would, it would take on this like horror structure where the robot starts picking off people one at a time. But as I'm breaking the story, I get to the moment where she is outside the house and she's worried about meeting his friends, and I'm tapping into all these repressed memories I have about meeting my partners, like friends and family, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just so alienating, and you just want to be on your best behavior, and I just stopped and I was like, wait a minute, I'm like relating to the robot more than I'm relating to the humans, and is that possible? Can I tell the story from the point of view where the most empathetic character is not even a human at all? And as soon as I had that, I was like, okay, I have something interesting, and I'm glad I did, because like 6 months after I finished the script, Megan came out, and then the slew of like Afraid and all these movies that were about AI gone wrong. As soon as that, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I had this fresh take of that, but. I'm not answering your question about like reference points and tone. As soon as I had her as the robot, as it being told through her eyes, suddenly like the metaphor of being in a bad relationship, just like, oh, I'm like this is something that everyone could connect to, because I don't think there's a person in this room that's never been in a bad relationship where you don't recognize it in the moment, and then you get on the other side of it, and you're like, oh, I felt like I was programmed. She's literally programmed. But as soon as I had that became like the through line for the entire movie. So no matter what genres or you would kind of layer in, the at its core, it's the story of a breakup. It's a relationship drama. And I, as soon as I had that, then all the directives you give to your actors and your department heads, they're like, don't think of this movie as a sci-fi movie. Like, let's think of this movie.
That was how
yeah. I really don't want this movie to look like Ex Machina. I love Ex Machina, but I don't want that desaturated look. I don't want it to have the Minority Report look of it being like a little ethereal and like glowy. And let's think of this movie as just, Marriage Story or something that's more grounded in reality. And that became the directive. So I wasn't watching movies like sci-fi movies like Blade Runner. I was watching, like there's a shot in this movie that I stole from Worst Person in the World. Like I was watching more, like grounded, realistic stories to gain inspiration from.
Yeah. And were you planning to direct this one from the beginning, or was this something? At what point did you decide this is going to be my debut feature?
When they told me I could. Again, I've been in the business so long that I know when you're impeding on something. I know when you're an obstacle. And I wrote this not even expecting it to get made, and it just was a writing sample. And so as soon as it, but I'm doing things within the script to kind of like maybe, like make it a little cheaper. I'm keeping it in one location, minimal actors, but still not expecting anyone to actually be like, here's money, go make this. But then suddenly I had producers like interested in wanting to make this movie. And we were discussing directors, and I didn't, when you're a first time director, I understand like there are gigantic compromises that are involved in that. You're committing to a lower budget. Studios aren't going to be interested in it, So my MO became like, the best director is the director that gets this movie made. And if that's not me, then I'm getting out of the way. So that was my approach. And it's just, I think this Zen-like approach kind of like, like put me in this position without even me like engineering it. But Zach Krager got involved. And this is before Barbarian came out. He read the script and really liked it. And we just spent the next couple weeks just refining and focusing, polishing, and just.
What were some of the changes that came out of that?
Like cosmetic stuff. Okay. Yeah. It just, and a lot of discussions about Barbarian and like what he, mistakes he made. Like I want to just, just find out as many stories as I possibly can. But like, yeah, he's really good at like, this is unnecessary. Let's just focus and refine. And he added a couple jokes that are still in, like, get some of the biggest laughs. Like, nice. Like Eli going like with the gun, like the, ow, that's fucking loud. That was Krager. One of my favorite jokes in the movie.
Yeah.
But, through that, I'm very, very protective of my material. Like I've just been burned so many times that I'm just like, we're going through every scene. I'm like, how would you shoot this scene? Like whose POV is this? And what lenses would you use? And he's either out of just annoyance, he's like, fuck it, you do it. Or him just being like recognizing like, oh, maybe my best, like he's a great producer. So for him to go, maybe the best thing I could do for this movie is get out of this person's way and just champion him as a director. And, like a credit to his generosity, and just even thinking about that is crazy. So I'm not even, again, I'm not trying to engineer this to happen, but he like goes behind the scenes and he asks Boulder Light and he asks Roy Lee, like, I think this guy can direct the movie if you will, like, give me your blessing. I'm going to ask him if he could do it. And so I got that phone call. And he said, do you want to direct this movie? And I know exactly what everyone, thought I would say, which is, I don't know. Like all of my fears just suddenly were like, I know how hard it is to direct something. And I just was like, can I do this?
Well, I want to ask about that. Because so you've got an amazing script. You've got the green light. You're going to direct it. You must be elated. But then probably 5 minutes after, the fear is going to set in.
Not even 5 minutes. It was like the second he said, "You want to direct this?" I was like,
later, the panic attack sets in. What are you thinking then? How do you build your team? How are you looking to bring in people to kind of insulate you? What's the first thought of who to collaborate with? Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, so first I had to, like you have to once you say I'm going to direct this, like then you can't unsay that. So like I first said, can you give me a couple days, which is crazy in hindsight to have been like, I need a couple days to like think this over. But I just was filled with fear, and I have a healthy, I mean, this movie's about imposter syndrome. Like it's about someone who thinks they're less than, that discovers that their worst nightmare is actually, yes, you are less than, you're not even human. And it's about her journey of self-discovery and acceptance of herself. Didn't know that when I was writing it, but I finished the first draft and I was like, oh my God, this is about me. I still have, I mean, imposter syndrome doesn't go away. Oh, no. You know, like you just have to kind of suppress it. So when he asked me to do it, like, yeah, I was like, I can't do this. And so I like a couple days of just, I didn't seek out anyone else's advice. It's just, this is a decision I have to make on my own. And so I kind of holed myself in my apartment, and I wasn't seeking out wasn't asking the universe for any information. Yeah. And I was just listening to podcasts, and I happened to listen to this podcast with a writer director that was put in a position where the studio said, do you want to direct it? And he was so filled with fear that he turned it down, and he's regretted it his entire life. And as soon as I heard that, I called Zach up and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Please. Wow. I mean, it's interesting because there's a lot of like focus and pressure put on your first movie, but you've been directing for a while. You've directed TV. I'm interested in how this felt different from that and how this felt familiar. Like when you started to click into it, what was like, oh, I've got this, and where did you feel I've got to learn?
Yeah, no, great question. I didn't realize I was miserable in television because I have a movie brain. Like, I would write a spec script and my agent would be like, this is great. It just feels like a movie, but yeah, this is great. I've been like, my brain, I just want to come up with self-contained stories that have like, you know, I want things tied up in a nice little bow at the end, you know, like that's just how my brain works. And I didn't realize that I was kind of, you know, pushing against that when I was in TV. And so going to writing this movie, I was like, yes, like I can tell a story within 100 pages. And it feels so liberating in that constraint that you don't have to play that game in television where it's like, let's just leave just enough unfulfillment so that the audience comes back for the next episode. You don't have to do that bullshit. You can do like complete character arcs, which is what my brain is wanting to do. Yeah. That was so liberating. But as far as directing something that's like of this scale, you know, it's not a big budget movie, but it's like also not an indie. It's like, we had a $10 million budget. And the hardest thing for me was coming back to the hotel room every night and just being like, what did I fuck up? What did I screw up today? And just... And
did you catalog it? Did you?
No, I mean, like you just have to forget about this stuff because you have to be thinking about the next day. But the thing I realized week one was that I was doing this thing that I always do, which is it's this perfect version in my head. And no matter how good Eli Bourne's cinematography is, or no matter how good Sophie Thatcher's performance is, it's not what's in my head. Mm-hmm. And so every day I'd come back to the hotel room being like, why isn't it what I wanted it to be? Like, how did what am I doing wrong that it's not reaching what's like the platonic ideal in my brain? Mm-hmm. And then week two, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it'll never be like that. And
did you ever forget that? I mean, that
yeah, but it's tough to, but you have to like, just let that go because there's beauty in like the blank spaces in your brain, like that's where you lean forward. And I think the most valuable words that you can say to a department head or an actor when they ask you a question is, I don't know. What do you think? Like that is like one of the best things because then suddenly it's not just your movie, it's their movie too. And they can have some ownership and it's collaboration. And so week two, I'm like, okay, like it's not going to be the movie in my head, but maybe there's beauty in like it becoming something else. Mm-hmm. And then week three, I'm like, yes, I got this. I'm good at this. And then the SAG strike hit. And and we took 5 months off and then it came back. And the first week I was like, why isn't it the movie that's in my head? Yeah. And then I had to reload.
Well, I want to talk about that because that must have been very disconcerting having to stop when you're picking up momentum, but also I can imagine that being a bit of a godsend to be able to sit with the material, to look at the decisions you've been making, to maybe edit a bit of it. Like what did you learn from having 5 months off in the middle of a movie? And then coming back?
Yeah. I mean, so much. I mean, I don't want to couch it in like it was great that it happened because it's also within a really like tough time for writers and actors. And you know, we fought for great things and made great strides, but like because we were put on pause and because we kind of shot not quite sequentially, but enough that when I was and the strike hit like exactly halfway through production, we had a 30-day shoot and it happened 15 days in.
What was left to shoot?
So, I mean, I think it's the phone call breakup. Like literally, we shot her side, but not his side, and then everything on that on the other side of it was we had to come back and shoot. But because we shot sequentially, I was able to spend a couple of weeks with the editor and work on the first half, and that's when I recognized, oh, this movie worked. Oh, I know what I'm doing. And coming back the second half, I had that confidence that I think a lot of directors would have in their second movie. I just had that in my first, and I felt like two different directors within that one movie.
So you mentioned Sophie Thatcher, who we both worked with, and is absolutely stunning in this movie. When you were casting for the lead part, for Iris, what were you looking for? What was it that you saw in Sophie that made you think that she was the person to do it? And was there anything, I guess, with her or any of the cast that maybe was off center of what you were imagining, but brought something new that surprised you, that kind of opened up a character for you?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of answers everything in this one. Like the way I write characters is like I want to, I never write with an actor in mind, because I've just inevitably been in that position where you're like, it has to be X. And then because of scheduling or because they don't connect to the material, you don't get X. And then it just feels like every other actor is a compromise and you're heartbroken. So I've just been through that so many times that I want to keep every character in this defined enough that it's like, you feel like you're, writing interesting characters, but not so defined that you're limiting yourself during the casting process. Yeah. So I try to get, close, but not too close. I mean, the metaphor that I sometimes use is like, and maybe this is a terrible metaphor, but like I want to create like kind of a deflated balloon. So it's a shape, it's a thing that you can hand to someone that they can fill it up and give it shape and shading. Yeah. But it's not so, I mean, it's a great, that's part of the collaboration, is like handing a character over and being like, okay, now it's unformed. Maybe now it's your job to form it. Yeah. So with, specifically with Iris, all I knew is like, doll-like porcelain skin, maybe, but like beautiful imperfections, but like a little alien, like there's things that boxes that don't necessarily need to be checked, but you're aware of. I thought for sure it would have been really easy to I thought it was really hard to cast the Josh character, but it was going to be really easy to cast the Iris character. I just thought that no, like male actor that age would want to play such a toxic character. But the funny thing is, Jack Quaid read the script and he was like, I want to play this part. I was like, oh, great. But the Sophie part, the Iris part, I didn't realize, like when we were starting to get the auditions and the self-tapes back, it's like, oh, this is actually two characters in one. You have the first half Iris. She's very docile and passive, and you have to buy that she's someone that wouldn't stand up to Josh. And then there's a literal moment of activation where she becomes a completely different person. And that version of Iris has to be, you have to buy her as someone who would stand up to Josh. And there were so many actors that nailed the first half, but they couldn't nail the second half. So many actors that nailed the second half, and then you put them in that position where they're supposed to be like subservient. You're like, you're too much of a badass. I don't buy you in this position. Sophie, we had 3 scenes for the audition. Sophie comes in, nails the first one, nails the second one, nails the third one, and the first and only actor to do that. And then it just became a game of like the pessimist inside me. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to f this up a lot. I think about that a lot.
Are you changing the script? I always find when auditioning, it's the first time you hear the words spoken out loud and you start to see the character solidify. Were you like writing and rewriting and changing, or was it kind of locked in place throughout that whole prep process?
It was pretty locked in place, but I would say, like, as far as what Sophie brought is, it was probably like 25% me and 75% her, if I was gonna like put a number on it. And maybe that's being generous to me. But things like that she brought to the table were like, I didn't know what she dressed like, that was all Sophie. She came to the table with like a 20-page lookbook that had that look there. It was like this leaning on like the 60s French New Wave, like Anna Karenina, like
of course she was, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it fits her perfectly, and it also has like this dull, like Stepford Wives, like kind of, you know, like vibe to it, which like that's all credit to her and her movements when she's moving in the beginning. You're like, this uncanny valley thing is happening where we didn't even discuss like what her movements would be. And then so when she first does that, I mean, her walks are just, if you watch them, you're like, something is off. She's so good at her job. We shot the first scene of her walking, and I'm like watching the monitor going, God, Sophie's weird at walking. Like, this is like, what's happening here? And then
Eli telling me exactly this about Sophie. He literally texted me about her walk.
Yeah,
like midway through the shoot.
Yeah, and then I'm embarrassed that it took like a stutter step to me. Like, oh wait, that's intentional. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I'm going to focus a bit more on prep. So you're a couple of weeks out of shooting. Your day one is fast approaching. Like, what are you doing? Are you storyboarding? Are you rehearsing? What does that process look like? You've got, the panic attack is rising in your chest. What are you doing to kind of stave that off?
I mean, you don't stave that off. Like, it's just an inevitability. You just have to just immerse yourself in the work and just kind of, there are beautiful moments where you forget how stressful it is. But I mean, I don't, it's my first movie, so I don't know. I love the experimentation of it. Like, for instance, like, I don't know where I want to be when we start shooting. And so I spent weeks like, do I want to be at Video Village? Like, where is Video Village? Do I want to have like a clamshell and wander around? Do I want to be next to camera? Yeah. So it's all experimental to me. I'm trying to figure out like who I am as a director. Yeah. And I don't even know about like shot listing and storyboards, like what my style is yet. Yeah. I know we shot listed the entire movie, but I also know that I have a terrible memory, and I love showing up on set and kind of throwing everything out and just like talking to the actors about, where do you think you would be? And then we don't worry about like what we had planned before, like just wander around the room and then discover shots in the moment. Like, I don't know. I would love for my next movie to shot list the entire thing, to storyboard the entire thing, just to know what it's like. Yeah,
I like to think of it as a bit of a kind of like safety net. It's there if nothing spontaneous happens on the day, then you can always fall back on it.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest lesson I learned was that there was one scene, like when she turns her intelligence up to 100%, that in the script, it's like a page long of like all these, like she's seeing the world for the first time, and she's walking around the forest and she's feeling and touching things. And I didn't have a game plan. I was like, oh, we'll just figure it out on the day. We'll make it like a Terrence Malick movie. Like, and that sucked. It was just like, it didn't feel like me. It didn't feel like the movie. Yeah. And that was the only thing that we had to reshoot was and I realized like in that moment, it's really tough to not to oversell that moment, because if you oversell that moment, you're promising to the audience that this is a different type of movie. Yeah. It's a fine line between like what we do and what Lucy does. Like, so if you like over promise, like, oh my God, she's going to turn into like something you would never imagine. Like, but that's not the movie we're telling. This movie is like, she just is becoming a fully realized like human being. Like, she's not going to do kung fu and run around and like, beautiful mind situations. So it was really important in that moment to figure out like what's the least amount we can give them, but also make sure the audience makes sure that this is a moment of like self-discovery, and it is important. And we realized all we needed was like a shot of her eyes and her smiling.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was going to ask about that. I'm always interested about those moments that they work on the page, they work in your head. You get up, you get on set and you put the scene on its feet, and it doesn't come together for whatever reason. And that feeling of having to spontaneously find a solution is it's exhilarating, it's terrifying. Like, are there any other moments like that where you were struck by something not working how you thought it was going to work, having to kind of put something together in the moment or trust your instincts?
Oh yeah. I mean, Kat's death. Like, so like my relationship with my AD, like, a good AD is constantly like, we got to keep moving. We got to keep moving. And I soon realized like, when my AD would be like, we have the X amount of time, it really was just, she was being like just overly cautious, and I had a little more time anyway. So when she said, we have to go, I got in this bad habit of being like, we don't have to go. We can take a little longer than she says. But that's not true when the sun's going down, and like when she's saying like lunch is at this time, and I'm not thinking about we're going to break for lunch and come back, and it's like, it's a movie lunch, so there's going to be any light. So I'm not overshooting, but like maybe spending a little more time than I should, and too comfortable. And we're getting to Kat's death, and I'm like, well, we could just shoot it after lunch. She's like, well, there's not going to be the sun's going to be down, and we only had 15 minutes to shoot that entire sequence.
15 minutes. Yeah.
So like. That so Eli just hit record, and there were no cuts in it. All angles of her walking over, Josh and Patrick, the close of her saying it's going to rain, like that whole sequence from her getting stabbed on was like we did it in maybe 15-20 minutes. Wow. And I left going, well, we're going to definitely have to like that's not going to work. There's no possible way that this is going to cut together. And then I'm so proud that you can do that.
Yeah.
You can, and I think her performance, it helps that she nailed the performance in that like one.
And I'm sure Eli
is always on ball. Yeah. That's one that I'm surprised worked.
Yeah. It's a beautiful scene. So we got to wrap up. I want to ask what's inspiring you at the moment? What are you watching? What are you reading? What's the thing that's kind of lighting a fire into you right now?
What's inspiring me at the moment? Last year, I think everyone recognizes it's kind of a bummer as far as like the top 10 movies were all sequels. But the movies that were original and that, I just feel like were really special. And something last year that I'm starting to put together is that it's really hard to do endings.
Yeah.
And there were like 4 or 5 movies that had like incredible endings. Like the last minute of Challengers is unbelievable. The last minute of Anora is unbelievable. I know Nosferatu is not like an original idea, but like that ending was amazing. So I was very inspired by endings last year. Like it's really tough to do that. And so like that, is that a lame answer?
Great answer. Great place to end. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.